just want to say big thank you again for coming over to SpaceX PLR. And for the people today who are not familiar with this man, you're going to find all the link, all the bio included in the show notes. So make sure to read that through. But we're going to be discussing a lot of interesting stuff, focusing on this, what's happening beside me is expansion of civilization. And again, we have a great guest for today. So I want to say just thank you for coming over.
Thanks to you for inviting me.
So
yes.
Can we talk about this as a kind of, beginning of this conversation? Like, how can that be achieved successfully?
Oh, wonderful. This is the main focus of our association, the Space Renaissance. So basically, okay, let me make a step backward and tell you why we think that civilization expansion into space should absolutely begin during this next 10 years before 2030, or we run the risk to lose this opportunity. Yes, I had a conversation a few months ago with Greg Mariniak. I think you know about Greg Mariniak. He was together with Peter Diamandis. They were the promoter of the X Prize that in 2004 was won by Scale Composite, then was acquired by Virgin Galactic and is the original of Spaceship Two, the suborbital tourism initiative. And so Greg Mariniak told me, I think that I'm sure of that the launch window for humanity to expand into space could be closed soon, sooner than we expect, because if you think we are 8 billion now, almost 8 billion, 7 billion and 700,000 millions, I think, maybe something like that, and we have so many problems. Talking about global issues such as the climate change and the global migrations and the unemployment and the pandemics now, horrible thing that is happening since 1.5 years so far. So all of these issues are due to what I call the syndrome of the closed world, because our growth was exceptional during the last 2 centuries, but it is occurring in a closed environment. So I never use that horrible word that is overpopulation, because I am a humanist. So I never think that humans are a bad thing. Human growth is a good thing because it's implementing the nursery of the ideas. So the more we are, the more good ideas we can have, and the more human capabilities and workforce and ingenuity and everything associated to our intelligence. That is the best manifestation of nature so far. So we are not something else with respect to nature. We are part of nature, and we are the highest expression of nature because we are the intelligent life. Okay, someone could say we are the stupid life.
Depends who you talk with.
Yes, it is also true. But however, we are sentient, and not only sentient, but we are also aware of ourselves, and we are aware that we have some responsibilities toward our species and toward the other species of sentient beings existing in our biosphere. So let me say, what we have now is a duty. It's not an option, it's a duty. We have to go outside. Otherwise, we could be scrapped. Really, our civilization could implode under the pressure of the multiple crises that are attacking our civilization. Talking let me say, at a philosophical, from the philosophical point of view, this is the way nature raises the pressure on a species when a species reaches the limits of its ecological natures. So nature put in place strategies to challenge these species and obliged to choose between expand or die. So this is how nature works. And we are not something else. We are part of nature. So thinking about our, let me say, philosophical destiny, our long-term destiny as a species, we have to think now where we are currently in this roadmap and to see what we are doing and what we are missing and what we should improve our attention to, and to give a better priority to some things. So what we have now, fortunately, because we have some clever and visionary entrepreneurs such as Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson and other ones, they are working hard to implement fully reusable launch vehicles. So this is the SpaceX Starship that is being developed and an incredible rhythm of tests and fails and failures and test again and so on. So this is wonderful. It's a wonderful pragmatic approach to this point, because before in the traditional aerospace, we had quite another approach that was okay, until when everything is not perfectly aligned, we cannot move. But that took too much time, too long time. And Elon Musk is using a different approach. He says, let's try to use what we have. We don't need science fiction technologies. We have technologies. We use them better, taking into account that now we have computer science. It's very much more evoluted with respect to 30, 40 years ago. Somebody already tried to put together more engines in order to boost a rocket. But it was not possible 40, 50 years ago to control in real time so many engines all together, because the computer science was not advanced enough. Now it is. Therefore, it is possible to put 30 Raptors on the Super Heavy booster and bring in orbit the Starship. So, okay, so we have a good advancement finally on the side of vehicles. But this is not enough. We need some more things to be successful in kicking off the expansion of civilization into space within next 30 years. We have to take care about not only allowing astronauts, trained astronauts, to travel in space. If we really want to start building the space infrastructure, we need workers to work in space for long periods, not only for 6 months, but long periods. And we also need to think about living in space, in space infrastructures, big cities like the O'Neill model, so big artificial toroidal or cylindric habitats that can have 1G artificial gravity. And so allow people to live there. But the most important thing, allowing people, untrained people, so civilians like you and me, we cannot tolerate a 4 or 5G acceleration, because our heart will not survive our system if we don't go through a training of two years training with the centrifugal machines and all that kind of astronautical training. It would not be possible for me and you to go and start working there. But if we take care of these problems and we realize vehicles endowed with a smooth acceleration, if we think about protection from cosmic radiations, for instance, another great issue, to bring people not only to for exploring space, but also to live and work in space. So this is the change of paradigm we need to approach from space exploration to space settlement. It is a political setup that we have to understand that is needed, and to change our mission requirements, to start thinking about different mission requirements for space transport vehicles and habitats. Another problem is, okay, artificial gravity I already mentioned. I think many people in the, at least in the space community or the space movement, or let's talk it as we like, read the excellent book by Scott Kelly called Endurance. So Scott Kelly is a NASA astronaut who spent 1 year on board the ISS.
Second the longest.
Yes, because there was a Russian guy on Mir before. Yes,
it's always the Russians.
yes. But unfortunately, that experience was not documented.
Yeah.
But Scott Kelly experience was very well documented, and he referred about all the diseases and the terrible health issues that he experimented during its journey on the ISS and after that, because he had horrible problems with circulation, blood circulation, but not only, also with cognitive perception and many other issues. So there are two main problems that we have to overcome: this cosmic radiation and gravity. That impact very, very badly our health. So if we are serious and we think about settlement and not only exploration, then we have to resolve these problems. So this is a priority, definitely, that we have to approach and we have to solve in the next years. So our goals in the space renaissance is to make outreach and to make public promotion of these kind of things that are not only to look at our destiny in the long distance, but also to understand what we have to do now to make these things to happen. Another big problem that we have to resolve is the space debris. Our orbit is filled of junk, and that thing has to be resolved. So many people in the space community are concerned about going to space and trying not to make the same mistakes we made on Earth. Okay, this is a word concern and worth to think about. However, it stimulates to me a couple of more consideration and reflections. The first thing is that however we have to go. So it is correct to have a concern about not repeating the mistakes, but this is only a secondary priority. The first priority is to make everything we need to do in order to go, to begin expanding. The second consideration is that we are already repeating the same mistakes. So if we think that pollution is a mistake, and I don't know at what extent it is really a mistake, because it becomes a mistake when we have the technologies to avoid it. But before having technologies to avoid pollution, it was not a mistake. It was something that it was unfortunately accompanying our development. So I am not that hard toward our fathers and grandparents, because they made all what they were able to do to allow me and you now to sit down at 1,000 kilometers distance and to talk as we were in the same room. This is thanks to our parents and grandparents. They worked hard for that. So I'm always careful when we say, we made a lot of mistakes. Yes, it is normal. If you don't make mistakes, you cannot progress in any way. So we have to make mistakes, to learn from mistakes, and try not to repeat. However, we are polluting Earth orbit. It is something that we started to do 60 years ago when we began to send things in orbit, and now we begin to have a technological understanding of how to avoid it, even because we are making smaller satellites, and smaller things will re-enter in atmosphere burning, so it will not be anymore space debris, will not generate space debris anymore. And we also have devices to put to be on board of satellites, and at the end of the operative life to drive the satellites to re-enter in the atmosphere. But let's think forward. Is that a good thing to just burn the space debris? No, we can. They are a value also, because they costed a lot to put it in orbit and to design and develop, etc., etc. So the good thing to do will be to reuse the space debris, to catch them, to process them, to get powders to be used for 3D printing, and start to build orbital factories in order to produce the infrastructure, to produce materials and components to build the infrastructure, and to build spacecrafts, and to assemble together spacecraft in orbit, etc., etc. So all of this is, let me say, an agenda of industrialization of space orbit, of Earth orbit, and then cislunar space, and so on, to Mars and the asteroid belt, and so on. So what we really need is a strategy, is a coherent strategy of expansion. Expansion is a global concept, global growing concept, not just a round trip.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to Mars, we put a flag there, we're here, and now we are happy, go back and think about the next destination. It was to the moon, it will be Mars, and so on. No, we need to build infrastructure and to grow up an infrastructure. So, okay.
So the question is, again, from the conversation that you had with Mr. Greg about 2030, that 2030 is going to be the time where, you know, it can go all down, because it feels like there's already a lot momentum that build up. And I think we can do a lot with the technology that's given to us. We have a lot of people. Of course, we need many more people to get involved. But, you know, the point is, what I'm trying to say, that before the Apollo missions, we had all the World War I, World War II, and after that came through the Apollo missions, and like NASA was formed and all these other space agencies. So could it be the case that, even though, I mean, you know, the technology is not happening as fast as we want, but we're still heading there? But I understand what you're saying, that we need to create more urgency for people to realize that this is the time. So on that note, like, what would you recommend for people who are watching or listening when it comes, if they already have the passion to pursue this as a full-time thing, maybe a career in the future? So where people should start when it comes to studying, like, what is the right place so they can be playing part of that expansion?
Well, first of all, I'd like to invite everybody to register for free to the Congress of the Space Renaissance. That will be from 26th of June to 30th of June. It will be 5 days, in which we will discuss in 5 symposiums, discuss all of these terms. And so let's participate to the Congress, join our crew. It is open for membership for just 24 euros a year. Therefore, it's very modest fee, but important for us, because when we have 100 and 1,000, and then it will be a budget that we can support the association and many things. Also, we have an academy with programs for students to make bursaries and to help students to choose their path to the stars. So these are several programs that if people will go to spacerenaissance.space website, they can be seen and read and so on. second, not second, first, the expansion of civilization into space need people support, because it is a political problem, a global political issue. We have the new space industry that are making excellent efforts to develop the technologies, etc., etc. But we need two things. First one is that at least governments will not hinder this process. So they will not, the process will not make obstacles to this process. And possibly governments could help in this process, giving fiscal discounts and giving eyes to the new space startups and all these kind of things, as they are some way doing to the environmental industry, the green industry. There are now big budgets, big programs in Europe, for instance. They were talking before pandemics. They were talking 1 trillion for the green economy, for the green transition, and so on. In the United States now, with the Biden administration, they are talking about something similar, even bigger, because they have, maybe in the USA they have bigger financial possibilities. Well, what we are thinking is something similar to be done for the new space environment. We need to encourage the startups to get in this market and to develop and to start taking young people and also old people that have a good experience and maybe remain unemployed for the crisis and so on. So we need a governmental friendly policy toward space, because they have to recognize that expansion into space is the real solution to go over the crisis and to relaunch the development, the economical development, the employment, and the cultural revolution too, because it is a global process that will include the whole planet, including the emerging countries, including the so far not developed countries, because space gives a prospectivity to everyone. So this is something. This is a strategical understanding that we are trying to communicate.
So how we can do that without taking politicians into space? How we can help them to realize that the space is going to be the next thing that we need to focus on? Like, what will be the message for them if we will have access to them right now? Like, what would we say to them?
Well, let me say, space is the only way we can start again thinking about a better future for our young people, our children and our grandchildren and so on. Because nowadays, if you talk with people, they are aware that their children will have a worse situation with respect to the situation I had in the 60s. I was grown up in the 60s, when there was the so-called economic boom after World War II, and that was an incredible season of hope, and there was hope in the progress, and people could be allowed, normal people could be allowed to buy their car, to buy frigidaire, television set in home. This was wonderful. It was excellent. Nobody was thinking about, oh, future is loom. No, but nowadays this situation is completely different. So the only way we can revert this situation and again give a future to our generation is to start. Note that I'm always talking about start. I am aware that we cannot do everything in 10 years. So we in 2030, we will not have big Lagrange cities on a model, or big cities on the moon, on Mars, and so on. No, but the important thing is that we will have begun this process, and that will be the difference, giving the hope to the people. That's the most important thing, because everything runs on the hope. The economy is a matter of hope,
Yeah,
or desperation.
and trust that it's
Yes,
going to
and
work.
trust. And trust, exactly. When I invest money, I am borrowing money.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I think that I will get back my money and more, then I am happy to invest. If I think that this will not happen, I will no more invest, because I will say, okay, I have few money, but I keep them for me, because maybe it can allow me to stay alive. No, because everybody thinks for themselves when the things are bad. But if there is hope, then I will say, let me put some money in that venture, because I see that is going. So this is the difference. It's very simple. So working for space is working for the hope, to restore hope in our world, in our society.
Gotcha. Okay. So the things that you've been working before, maybe you can talk about a little bit more. Just want to mention, you founded Andromeda, which is one of the industrial automation and system infrastructures. You founded that. And another thing, that you founded the web magazine that's called Technologies of the Frontier. So can you talk just from the technological perspective? Are we missing any technology, or are you seeing that we don't have enough technology to create those, expansion, civilization moments yet? Like, what do we lack when it comes to technology? What do you think?
Okay, so the Andromeda you mentioned was my small company that is closed now since 10 years, more or less. And it was developing software for real-time systems, as I told before, for industry and infrastructure and aerospace. And we also developed a tool for system engineering, that is project lifecycle management. So it was a tool to manage requirements, test procedures, and open problems and documents and interfaces and all this kind of thing connected to the technical quality of a project. Okay, this is about the mission of my small company that is now closed. Technologies of the Frontiers in the 90s, in the 1990s, was my first, the first webzine that I put in place in order to discuss with other people around the world during the dawn of the internet, because it was developing the internet in those years, about the limits of our growth. My reflection, my philosophical reflection, started from the so-called limits of growth by Aurelio Peccei and the Club of Rome. They commissioned to the MIT in Boston a study about the limits of growth in this planet. And they come to the end, they put one pillar of the ecologist movement, if you like, because they say, okay, the resources of Earth are finite, are not infinite, therefore we have a limit, we cannot develop more. And they all only remained closed inside what I call the pre-Copernican view, because it's just limited to Earth. And they didn't dare to look at the sky, to look farther behind them. So my first idea was to create a discussion around this, going over the limits of growth, the limits of our world. Therefore, the technologies of the frontier was an effort to talk about going over the frontiers. So not only space, but also deserts and all the earthly frontiers. And we had, let me say, in 10 or 15 years, 10 years more or less, a good discussion, and I had the opportunity to meet the same people that in 2008 gave birth to Space Renaissance. So this was an incubator, let me say, of the current Space Renaissance International Association.
I got you. So, and what about that? You know, the question is, do we still remain in this place? Because again, we have the companies like we talked about, Elon Musk and SpaceX, which is one of the frontiers when it comes to creating sustainable, you know, and reusable rockets. So that's happening, and we have a lot of different companies who are kind of in the startup phase or maybe more advanced in different sectors, robotics, satellites, and things like that. So do you think that technology, it's still the issue that helps us to expand, that could help us to expand? Or you think it's just the human psychology that we're just not ready for that change yet?
No, well, it's hard to say if we are psychologically ready or not. I think technology is going forward, and that's good because we are on the right track. I cannot say if they are going forward, if they are doing everything should be done. For sure, they are doing good work. I believe that what it is needed is a more diffused awareness of what is the scope of expanding into space. That is a life scope. That is because you know you see many initiatives that show me that there is not awareness about that, even in the space community. Yesterday I got as I get many of these newsletters and invitations, by a thing called Reinventing Space. So I gave them a sarcastic reply, and I say, look, guys, space doesn't need to be reinvented.
We have to be reinvented.
Yes, space is the only solution. So that we don't need to reinvent, to call people to give fantastic ideas about how to motivate space. No, space is there, is waiting for us to go. So this is the problem. Other approach that is coming from a traditional aerospace philosophy, I think, is, oh my God, new space is happening. We have to be careful. We have to accompany this process, but trying to moderate it some way because it's going too much ahead. This is wrong.
We should just let it go the process.
Yeah, we have to help. Let it go first, and second, help if we can. So this is the correct approach. And to be ready or not, it depends how many people in the world will understand the real needs and the real feeling that we could have about space settlement, and that will decide if we will have an enough extended vanguard that will support the expanse or not. So yes, I would be a kind of astrologist if I could respond, if I could give an answer to this question, we will be ready or not. Okay, I'm not an astrologist, so I don't divine the future. I can only say that I'm strongly working and doing everything I can to help, to support this perspective.
So what do you believe is the right, you know, as we talk about this futuristic outlook for the space, and just from philosophical point, how we can get that message across to the people who are like, I hear the cars going by, the people walking on the streets. How do we reach those people? how do we change their, philosophy when it comes to the space, and how do we educate them and let them know that space is going to be the next thing? It should be important for them also.
Yes, this is the hardest work to be done.
Yeah.
We need we are talking about this in our strategic thesis in our Congress now. We have two theses. The first one is status of civilization and perspective of expansion into space. This is an assessment of the situation with the pandemics, with multi-crisis, with everything, and what are the opportunities, okay, risks and opportunities. The second thesis document is our strategy to make the best future happen. And this, of course, involves how to organize ourselves and also to make a proposal to sister organizations in the space movement to work together for some shared goals, maybe even few goals, but we can agree and make a bigger force to move. And how to reach normal people? Yes, this is the main question, because we have to be able to connect the daily problems of the people with the concepts, with the philosophical and political concepts. This work needs to be approached not only by philosophers, because philosophers manage the concepts, but we also need communicators, we need marketing people, we need outreach people, so people like you, for instance, that makes this excellent broadcasting, because this is addressed to the world society. So we have to learn how to best use the digital tools, but not only now. If finally this pandemic will be defied by the vaccination, we can start again to go in the street. We start again to go in the theaters, in the squares and everywhere to talk with the people. So it is something that I have I don't have easy formulas or solutions for that. I think it's a collective work that we should be able to put together.
Yeah, I do believe that as well, because I say that on the show or in the private conversations with people, that it doesn't matter where the space is going to be, if it's now, if it's after 10 years or 20 years, or the case of having colonies on Mars, just like, the picture behind me, it's still going to be all about the communication and collaboration between people.
Exactly.
Because if we want to pull this successfully, if we want to move from Mars to Venus, or from Venus to exoplanets, or whatever we can dream and think about, it's going to be communication, how we can create this open communication for people to collaborate and try to solve these big problems. So can you talk about that? Because this is only one way of communication, having a podcast that people can understand that space is for everyone. They should be part of it. They should know more about it. What about the book that you have? It's called The Greater World is Possible. So can you talk a little bit about the book and what's included in it?
Yes, of course. So the book is this one. It is available on Amazon, and well, it is not a big book. It is my second book. Therefore, I think I have learned a little bit to narrow the contents and not to try to put too many things inside. So this book is discussing this civilization expansion into space as a moral issue, something that that's our duty toward our species, first of all, toward the rest of the sentient beings of Earth, to the bioma of Earth. It is, not forget, it is 97% vegetal life. So maybe being the only intelligent species in this biome, our duty is to allow Mother Earth to reproduce itself, its biome in the rest of the solar system, because this is what we can, it is in our range. We cannot yet think about galaxy and so on, but the solar system, there are many celestial bodies where we can try to terraform and to export the earthly biome. And okay, this talking about the let me say the highest philosophical goals that we can talk about. But if we think about evolution of our civilization, if we think about the Kardashev scale, that Kardashev was a Russian astronomers who make a scale of 3 degrees to classify civilization. It says civilization type 1 is able to harness the energy of its own planet, so Earth. Civilization type 2 is able to harness the energy of the sun from space, collected in space, collected or not, and in the system, in the solar system. And civilization type 3 is a civilization that can harness the energy of the galaxy. So IDAR to look at the galaxy too, and maybe more. Then we have someone else thought about this kind of classification, and one is Bob Zabrin, that is the president of the Mars Society, what you have in your background. And he said that not only energy is to be considered, but also resources, material resources are to be considered, planetary, solar system, and galaxy. And Carl Sagan is the inventor of SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, added the information that can be exchanged in the planet, in the solar system, and in the galaxy. In this book, and in a further reflection and developments that will maybe lead me soon to another edition of this book or to another book, I am adding a 4th criteria for classification, that is inclusivity. So I say that only a solar system civilization expanded from planet to outside will be able to be 100% inclusive of the whole human population. Because we already understood, and we should have understood, that this planet doesn't have enough resources to allow 8 billion people to progress, to have, let me say, the medium wealth that we have in the industrialized countries. Okay. We have this possibility only in a regime of abundant resources that includes resources from the moon, from the asteroids, from Mars, and from the Jupiter moons, and so on. Because that abundance of resources give us a platform, a material platform, that will allow us to think about all the people be wealthy. That is something like a new utopia, you know, a feasible utopia. Feasible because all the utopias of the past centuries failed due to their trying to realize inside a closed environment that didn't have enough resources. And any utopia that tries to develop inside the limited resources will end in authoritarian bureaucracies and dictatorships. This is the lesson learned from history. But something that was never tried never tested, is to develop a new utopia in a regime of abundance of resources, in a virtually unlimited resources. Because if you think about even only to the asteroids materials, there is enough for the development of trillions people. And now we are concerned about living 8 billion people. But if we go outside, we will have, okay, this book discusses all of these things and trying to make the case for ethics enhancement and evolution that is toward a full inclusive society expanding into space. So that's why a greater world is possible.
Exactly. And this is very important, I think, because we have to realize that, you know, there could be that abundance that you're talking about. This is definitely possible. Just the fact that, you know, those things as we take for granted here on the planet, whatever form that is, you know, people, when we think about wealthy people, we think about diamonds, money, of course, gold and things like that. And the thing that I have here on the finger, the gold, it actually came through the space part of the evolution, part of the supernova. It's the end result of that. So it's happening out there for us to go and explore and take that if we wanted to. But I actually have seen the movie, so I'm thinking as we talk about these 4 phases, as you're looking to add one more phase to the that you know, just way of thinking. I think, you know, I've seen this incredible movie. I can't remember exactly the name, but I mentioned that a few times before, about these alien creatures. They were traveling through space with, you know, their spacecrafts, you know, advanced technology, and they were going and bathing in this like bluish water and in the spaceship. So there's like a pool. So they go in a pool and they come out of the pool and they rejuvenate. They look younger, they feel great. And, you know, one of those aliens, what looks exactly the same like a human being, ask another person. He says, what do you think is the most expensive commodity in the universe? And the person says, I don't know. And this alien said, it's time. Yeah. So I think, can we get to the point where we can actually realize that time is the most important thing? It's not the gold, not the diamonds, not the money. And what would it take for us to get to that point of realization that time is the only thing that we have?
Yes, of course, time is the most important thing that we have. That's true. And also, okay, another reflection that came to my mind while you were talking is what the transhumanist movement think about. That is improving capability to live longer, to integrate electronic systems in our body and all these kind of things that all are targeted to allow people to live longer. But let's think what it would be if we allow people to live long, if we get this possibility for people to live longer and we remain closed inside the boundaries of Earth. That will increase our problem to being too many people inside the closed system. And will okay, the alternative will be not to have children anymore, but that will be very sad. It will be another way to another way of euthanasia of our civilization. So really, the only choice, rational choice for any species is to expand, if the species has the means to do it, and I think we have. So it will be crazy not to do it. And okay, maybe I forget the part of your question. Could you refocus?
Yeah, but I just wanted to tell this story because, you know, just about the perspective of the time and how is that important, you know?
Time. Yes. Of course, time is the most precious commodity. If I thinking about myself, if I had another 100 years time, even only to develop further my thought, further further of this, that currently is my maximum expression of what I was able to put together as conceptual thinking and so on. Therefore, I think I could better satisfy the Abraham Maslow expectations about my self-realization, my personal self-realization, and so it will be for any person in the world. Therefore, definitely to have more time for living is a very worth goal, and yes, I believe we can. Even this goal can be pursued by expanding into space. And also, let's think how much we will grow in our capability of thinking when our thought will be in a 3D environment and no more on a flat on the flat bottom of the gravitational well. That will be a definitely new culture, definitely new way of thinking, new of reasoning in the openness of space. So yeah, we can find some things in some science fiction novels about this kind of evolution. And so if you think, I don't know, if you think about Robert Heinlein, if you think about um, Ray Bradbury, and these are the classic, but we also have some new writers that are quite interesting. From I think about James Corey, who wrote The Expanse. The Expanse was also generated a series that's now on Amazon Prime, The Expanse. That's quite interesting as an anthropological view of a possible civilization expanded in the solar system, and so on. So, okay.
Those are really important people that we're talking about, as we talked about the musicians, authors, writers, movie producers, because those people are the ones who are instilling the hope, as we're talking about, for the people. Like the Steven Spielberg and all the movies that he did, he instilled so many probably and influenced more than a few people who are currently working at NASA or space agencies or startups. So those are crucial people for us to move in the future. The question that I wanted to ask, as we spoke about technology a little bit, and just the human expansion, because every time we watch a movie, we see a robot or a system is having communication with people. So how do you think the technology is going to play? Is that going to be the main part into expanding us into the space, or where the technology is just going to be in this industry? What do you think?
Okay, look. Firstly, I have to say, for my personal experience, I'm a softwareist. Therefore, I know the great things that software can do and the limits of any software system. So I think artificial intelligence systems, being an intelligent system, and I know it can be, and it can be always improve and so on. However, they will always have a task of supporting human decisions, because what an artificial intelligence system can do is to make an incredibly high number of operations in a very, very short time, and that depends from the advancement of the electronic technologies to always shorten this time and to make. So artificial intelligence is great when you have a big number of data to be processed, to be investigated, to be organized, to find things inside some billions of data and so on. Then it is something that humans could never do it with the same efficiency and completeness and systematicity of an electronic system. Yes, but if you think about situational awareness, and you think about understanding where your feet are are on, and what is around you, and what is the reality, and what is the movement, and what is the air, and what is the smell, and what is the global perception that even your brain can catch in some way, no? Then there's nothing better than humans for that. So this is the first consideration. In an emergency, you have to take quick decisions, and though the artificial intelligence is very quick, in their relational database, they could not have that particular situation to be able to understand what is the real emergency. Humans can. So, okay, however, having said that, that is, let me say, a kind of economic consideration when we say better automated or better human for missions, etc. There is another point, that expansion into space is useful for people. If we are not going there, it will be useless. We don't need, for instance, another discussion. Should we go outside, take the materials, the resources from asteroids and from moon, and bring them to Earth? For what? To make pressure on Earth still rising? That would be the result. Even if we go outside and make big solar panels in order to catch the solar with a very bigger efficiency, without season, clouds, etc., in space. And when we have collected this energy, what will we do? Beam them on Earth by microwaves, or use it for the outside, for using that energy for space? My answer is the second, for sure, because if we think that we can solve our earthly energy problems by collecting energy in space and beaming it on Earth, and remain closed on Earth, that will lead to an unbearable rise of the pressure. We already have a big pressure on our world. Yeah. And this will increase it. So I don't say that space-based solar power shouldn't be used for Earth. It can be, but in the same time, it should be used for creating a space infrastructure and to expand. Otherwise, we have not made the job that we will have to do. So the main problem is that expansion into space is useful for people. Yes. For people to go, yes, not for people to stay, because staying, we already understood that is not good, because we will more and more be compressed and limited in our movements. And okay, what are we saying? We are saying that we have to trash our cars because we have too many cars and we cannot move, etc. But our cars are freedom of movement. That is something we need. Nowadays, if I make a trade-off, if I want to go for the weekend, I want to go to seaside. That is just 200 kilometers from my home. Should I take the train or the car? Let me say, sometimes I take the train because on train I can also work on my computer and not lose the time. But sometimes I need to take my car because it is. I breathe, okay? I go outside, I drive, I stop where I want, I leave where I want, and so on. It is different. So the freedom of movement is something that is very needed for us, that we are explorers in our inner psychology. So, yes, you know, even of this is discussed in this book and many other things.
And that's a very great message, because as we continue to, you know, just being free and able to move, which again you know, I'm pretty sure there's more than a few people, not just like you and me, who are probably sick and tired of going to holidays and taking the airplanes and going to other part of the world, which it sounds great. But some people are literally looking like, I want to go to the orbit. I actually want to go to the moon for the holiday, you know. And look, we have to, you know, make that as the dream and keep that as a hope for those people. And again, we have companies like, you know, Blue Origin. I don't know how much of they're going to be playing in that, but again, Virgin Galactic, SpaceX, Rocket Lab, or other companies who are going to be making that happen. So, and with that, you know, with that mission that they have, is you know, everything is going to follow, because we need those leaders in the industry, just like, you know, people just like you, who, again, Space Renaissance International, you've been doing this for, you know, for quite a long time right now, actually, you know, 13 years. So, you know, it's very important to communicate that message to the people and let them know this is the hope. We're going there. There's momentum, and things are going to happen. So, like, what is the plan for Space Renaissance International besides the event that you're going to have? Of course, we're going to put the event details in the comments below, so you guys can find it, register for that. As I assume this is going to be a virtual event, right?
Yes, it will be made on Attendify plus Zoom and broadcasted on YouTube. Yes, and yes, we hope that this Congress will allow us to develop further during next 5 years. We will have a new board of directors. We will have a new president. We are discussing some candidates in these days, and I hope that we will have a completely new plan of development. We will renew our website in order to make it more attractive, more appealing, and so on, and more easier to understand, and to allow, let me say, a layers approach. So a very simple approach at the first layer. Then if people want to deepen, go at a second layer where concepts are presented, and so on, allowing people with different kind of interest to go inside, and so on. One important thing that we initiated since more or less 1 month is a Space Renaissance Art chapter, because we are deeply convinced that art is the main language that we can use to communicate with the people, because it is an emotional language, and it's able, as you said before, with the movies, that will transmit many concepts very much better than a conference, academic conference, for sure. So what we are trying to understand better and to organize is that we definitely need the academic layer, because we have to develop our philosophical research and deepening concepts and so on. But we also need a powerful outreach level in which these concepts are somehow distilled and presented in a simple, colloquial way that people can understand and be attracted to deepen. And for sure, art is something we have to focus very much more than what we made. Well, from the very beginning, Space Renaissance already had special attention to art, and in all of our congresses and conventions, we already have space for some artistic performance and musical performance and things like that. But we have to now to make it in a systematic way. And the new Space Renaissance Art chapter, chaired by Sabine Heinz, she is a paintress in Berlin. I think will be quite to develop this task, and collecting artists and people interested to arts.
Yes, I do agree, because I'm actually looking for the image, just an actual name of the image, because I don't know. I know it's a Vincent van Gogh image. It's probably one of the first paintings that was about the space, and you probably know the picture is very famous. You know, it just shows the scenery of the city and the night sky and the universe and the stars and the way he thought it looks like. And it's probably was one of the pictures, just not the pictures, the paintings that was focused on the cosmos, on the space, rather than the scenery. The scenery was there, but was focused on
Yeah.
that. So I think, you know, through that, as we speak about, you know, artists or musicians, or those are the great people, again, because through the music, you know, like music is such a powerful thing that can unite nations, people, and bring them back to the good memories and time. So, you know, we need those people to be part of that change. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So how do you believe, again, besides, you know, Space Renaissance International, what would you like as the best case scenario for yourself as you got the book and you're thinking about, you know, other books and other things that you're going to do? What would you like your personal legacy? And maybe we can talk 100 years with the technology. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, why not?
So yes. So what do you think the overall, just the legacy, same as we're talking about Carl Sagan or other influential people in the space industry, what do you think your personal legacy is going to look like?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you something. I have a novel. It's now maybe 50% developed, and I interrupted to develop it because the Congress is absorbing 100% of my attention. But I think I will restart writing just after the Congress because, yes, I think to write essays, philosophical essays, is important because the concept should be put on the paper. But as we need to communicate to the people, writing novels is as almost the same important, if not bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I have some limits to overcome myself, because being an essays writer, I tend to overwrite and to over-explain, and that's not good for a novel. So I need to learn how to write exciting situations and so on. And one of my goals is to write an exciting novel, avoiding to put inside people killed, and violence and murdering and all of these things that is always too much. So I am a humanist. I want to tell a story about good feelings, if you like, about love also.
Yeah.
I think space romanticism is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm trying to write a novel of not in a distant future, in about 30 or 40 years, and to tell about normal life in space, what it would be. Yeah, of course, there will be problems, issues, and things that should be my characters will have to face and etc. But however, I will try to avoid the easy ways to catch the reader adrenaline, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my goal. I don't know if I will be able to do it, but it's worth to try.
It is a worthy goal. It is a very worthy goal, because that's very interesting, because I don't think, unless it's a, you know, business related book, which of course you're not going to find characters and people that, but when it comes to those just science fiction books or the movies, somebody has to, of course, die. And that's mostly the person that dies in the book or in the movie. It's the one that you feel bad for. Like, why did the person die? You know, like, this was a good person. So, you know, so just because of that entertainment, you know, but imagining this, you know, this scenario where nobody dies and everything goes as perfect as possibly can, and giving that view for the people, because I'm sure some people are not used to this best case scenarios. just people to understand that this is possible. If we can think it, we can do it. As stupid as it sounds, but this is kind of the reality. And I think we should strive for that, for less mistakes, trying to make, again, not from just having this, you know, perfectionist perspective, but try to live this as a great outcome, as the positive outcome, as, you know. So I think this is a great message for the readers. So
of course, there are differences between Earthers, Martians, and Belters. And Belters are also physically different because they grow in a low gravity environment. Therefore, they are long and thick, and there are social problems. But what surprised me more is that Earth, in that scenario, Earth has 30 billion inhabitants, and 80% of them are living on a subsidy. So my main question to James Corey, that in fact they are two authors that write with this pseudonym James Corey, is if the civilization expanded into the solar system, what are the benefits, the social benefits of this expansion? There must be. You cannot write a story where you don't see social benefits of this expansion. I don't say you have to paint an idyllic even. No, that would be boring. It will not be attractive as a story plot. However, you have to give me some idea of the social advance. You cannot say you have 25 billion people unemployed on Earth, because otherwise you are saying that expansion is useless. Mm-hmm. It only generates new social problems and not social benefits. Okay, I would say that this kind of criticism I could also make it for James Cameron, some works of James that are beautiful, beautiful. But for instance, Elysium is a beautiful movie because it shows an on-ale habitat and in a very, very immediate way and very interesting. But even this movie thinks that social problems on Earth are worse than before this development. So let me say that maybe these directors are a little bit affected by a classist view. In my humanist evolution, what I think is an evolution to the humanist philosophy, I tried to separate, to go over the classist view, the counterposition. I think that unfortunately, even the best science fiction we have now is still affected from the 900 classist view. So what I would say that I would try to encourage some directors and writers to try to go over. That doesn't mean to deny the criticism of the capitalism and all and of the exploitation of the people and all. Okay, all of these kind of things we know is the bad. No, is the bad side of the development, of the industrial development, let me say. But we should also try to have an historic view, finally, a good historical view on the good things that the industrial society brought to us. That is, the mass instruction system, the mass health systems, the capability for all the people to to dress, to have their dignitous life, and so on. This is a gift of the industrial development. We have to access finally to a more mature view of our history, and to understand the good, not only the bad things that were criticized from the workers' movement and and even by the ecologist movement now, but also to be able to look at the good things we had. Because if we are not able to acknowledge the good things, we will lose them, and we will be able to conserve these good things only. Another time is worth to say it, expanding into space, to close this. Okay.
So I do believe what you say, because the message is not the right one to continue to tell if we're talking about the movies and the books, and we should insert different scenarios and different outcomes, because again, we have huge audiences. We're talking about billion-dollar movies that get billion people plus attention, probably even more depending on the movie, how good it is. But I think we should start changing the messages to talk about that, looking from really futuristic point of view, and, not making it only kind of this, like, this is where we are, this is happening, somebody die, and at the end it's good, but just, changing the approach as we look at things. So, and that would happen with the time and with the people just like yourself. So look, guys and girls, you're going to find the link included for Space Renaissance International event in the show notes there as well. So make sure to register. There, of course, is going to be the website, which is spacerenaissance.space. You can go there for more information about the event, or can contact with Adriano, and you're going to find a few pieces, Facebook, and other things as well. Make sure to check out the book in Amazon. You can purchase that as well. I think it's going to be a good quick read, as Adriano said himself. And again, for you, Adriano, it's just like, it's really cool what you do. I mean, it's really awesome, because as I said before, thank you. Because as I said in the beginning of our conversation, it's all about this continuous science communication. And because this is exactly what you do, and it could be put out through, again, the music, art, or different things from, philosophical views, but this is science communication, in general. So, and I think it's really important what you do. So, again, thank you so much for all the efforts, and I wish you continued success. And, maybe we can do even another episode sometime in the future and discuss future projects, but because it seems like you have so many more great things coming up as well.
Thank you very much. Bye to everyone. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So again, guys, thank you for watching this episode. And as always, I'll see you next time. And thanks for watching.